Well, thank you very much for joining us on the AM show. And for those of you who have stayed all this while, we get into our big stories. The first one, we're going to be contemplating the motion of censure brought against Ken Ofori Atta, Minister of Finance and Economic Planning. We'll also get into some other issues tied to that situation. Joining us for the discussion, Dr. Dixon Adomako Kissi. He's someone I have missed on the show. He is Member of Parliament, Anya Sowutum. Doc, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. I'll do my best.
All right. We also have Murtala Mohammed, someone else I've also missed on the show. When he comes, it's always fireworks. Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Murtala, is that mischief I read on your face?
Oh, yeah, it is.
It is, eh?
You have to add comrade.
Comrade Murtala. Okay, if it is mischief, then let me also start on a mischievous note.
Okay.
Do you own a car?
Yes, I do.
Do you fuel your car?
I do.
Does Parliament give you any subsidy on that, your fuel?
No, I mean, that is one thing I think that the communication in Parliament has not been good. The salaries of Parliament have been paraded even on your network, how much members of Parliament take. The other day, someone said I own 3 Land Cruisers. I don't. The cars that is given to members of Parliament is you pay for it. We are the only Article 71 office holders who are not given a free car to use. You take a loan. You have a choice to take the loan or not. The salary they pay you as a member of Parliament, you buy your fuel from that salary. You pay your driver from that salary. You pay your security from that salary. You pay your insurance from that salary. Everything is from that salary. And that is why I remember when we were in the Safe Parliament, my good friend, Honorable Tatus Glover, sat on Metro and said that at the end of the day, we're taking 2,300, and some members of Parliament were angry that why he put that out. And I think that if you look at the gross which has been paraded often, take away the car loans, take away the accommodation loans, take away the salary, take away everything, you realize that MPs go home with nothing.
But you don't have to take these loans, do you? You don't have to.
If you are an MP who is elected to represent a constituency, that you are not from Accra,
right?
You don't have anybody here. You would have to take. You can't build a house. Parliament won't provide you with official accommodation, as is being done to other Article 71 office holders and even public servants who work within these ministries and agencies.
So all 275 of you must have residence.
Yes, you have to be. Because Parliament is in Accra. You spend at least a minimum of 5 days in Accra a week and 2 days in your constituency. And that is why when this car issue came, the Land Cruiser may be a luxury to some people, but it's a necessity to others. And I'll give you an example. When I was the MP for Nanton, I needed minimum 2 weeks to visit all constituencies, all communities within the constituency, over 80 communities, which are hugely dispersed, and even not more trouble. So if you go to the constituency, maybe weekend, you can visit maybe about 10 communities, if you want to even be very fast. 10 communities that you'll be able to visit for one trip. Now, traveling from Tamale to Accra, if you are traveling with the team, you can imagine how the distance is. So you can't risk that with a saloon car. And even when you go to the constituency, some of the constituencies, you can't even move with a saloon car. So that is why when this issue of the car loan came, I said, look, it may be a luxury to some people, but it's a necessity to others. Maybe perhaps constituencies that are within the cities. If you take Tamale Central, for example, apart from the fact that the distance I would have to travel from Accra to Tamale, within Tamale, I ride motor. If you ask those in Tamale, often I ride motorbikes. Even the campaign, I ride motor because for me, it is faster, to do that.
You ride a motorbike?
Yes, I ride motorbike very often in Tamale.
You can't live in Tamale and not know how to
ride.
Oh, definitely.
So if you look at it, travel, my car, honestly, I went to fill the tank because I was supposed to travel. That time, I spent about 2,300 in filling the tank before these increases. Now, I will need almost 3,000 Ghana cedis to fill the tank. Now, 3,000 Ghana cedis, if I'm traveling from Accra to Tamale, Tichima, I would have to top up. And topping up, we top up close to 1,000 Ghana cedis. Let's even say 600 Ghana cedis before the car can send it to Tamale.
Right.
You would have spent 3,600, 3,500 for in. If you are leaving Tamale you spend 3,500, that is 7,000 for fuel alone.
More than somebody's.
And this excludes your moving around. So imagine someone going to Paga constituency, someone going to Jirapa, someone going to Navrongo Central.
Even
Jomoro, someone going to that place, the western regions. I mean, and the roads are not even more trouble. So it is huge. And to be very honest with you, It is like
Apando's
constituency. I didn't reach it.
Yours is also very big.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
but
And also
my
which one is-
distance is...
Right.
I'm within Accra. But then again, I mean, some of my roads, saloon cars can take.
Cannot.
Yeah.
So that vehicle, frankly speaking, it's not a luxury. So that's why when the MPs are given, look, give us vehicles to operate.
Right.
Give us vehicles as you give to other public service servants or civil servants or even Article 71 office holders.
Right.
Provide the vehicles. Because mind you, our colleagues who are working in the ministries and agencies who are given land cruiser and salon, the fuel is provided by the state. The driver is paid by the state. The maintenance of the vehicle is done by the state.
Right.
But in our case, you pay your driver from your salary, you buy your fuel from your salary, you maintain the vehicle from your salary. So at the end of the day, it is like...
So some people will say, you members of parliament, you have so much already. I mean, yes, even the mere fact that you have access to these loans, which the ordinary man would not have access to, is a big deal. And I'm sure someone is sitting, somewhere watching us and saying, wait in age, what that's open more? What would be your reaction to that? My name is Ben.
We have agreed as a people to charter the path of democracy.
Right.
And in democracy, there are three very important arms: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. You can have a government without parliament, but you cannot have democracy without parliament. So what it means is that parliament is sine qua non to ensure the existence of democracy.
Okay.
Now, if you agree that we don't want to be ruled by military dictatorship, we want to rule by rule of law, where there are these arms that have equal powers, checks and balances, for the good of the citizenry. Now, each of these arms must be given the necessary tools to operate. Is that not the case? The judiciary have been given the necessary tools. They are given.
I mean, recently, the housing in Kumasi, fantastic.
Yes.
Right.
I looked at the judges. I was like, wow, child, this is nice.
So among all,
Is that something you feel could be done for members of parliament?
I mean, it'll help us.
It'll help you.
So Echo, we agree if you tell me as a
Benjamin.
member, if you tell me as a member of parliament between giving a car loan and the state providing vehicle for me to do my work,
You
I would
prefer
choose the state providing the vehicle for me to do my work.
Less liability.
Any day, because one.
So with the same things that apply to, for example, those in the civil service,
Yes.
and then, but when you're done with your tenure,
You
you
leave
leave
it.
the car.
You leave it.
You would prefer that.
Absolutely.
Would you prefer that as well?
Absolutely.
I don't mind at all.
Listen, right now, my vehicle, assuming this Land Cruiser, and those who know, I hardly use the Land Cruiser, frankly speaking. If I'm traveling if I fuel the Land Cruiser, it won't take me a week.
Okay.
Sometimes traffic. So if I'm to spend 3,000, even minimum 3,000, fueling the Land Cruiser for a week, let's even say that I'll use that vehicle for a week. That is from my home to Parliament. Now 3,000 times 4.
That's 12,000.
How much is my salary? Take away all the other loans. How much is the salary? Now I have to pay a driver if you have a driver. When the vehicle spoils, I have to maintain the vehicle. I pay the insurance, all of them from my salary. So at the end of the day, you cannot do anything. So if the state says that we are providing you with a vehicle, the state will provide the driver as it is being done by other public servants. The state will provide the fuel as it is being done by other public servants.
And
when the vehicle spoils, the state will maintain it.
We make it clear that we buy fuel with cash.
Yeah, cash.
Right.
No coupon. They don't give us
with our own money.
So you don't have coupons or anything like
Nothing.
that?
No.
I've had somebody sit with me in the car, and when I got to the fuel station, I was paying cash. They were like, "How? What?" I guess we buy our fuel.
And this one,
I want to believe it.
I didn't bring it up because I was not aware. I brought it up because I am aware of it. But these questions keep coming up about, hey, do you even purchase your fuel? But I also brought it in because of what Katie Hammond, the member of parliament for also said in recent times that he doesn't even own a car to talk of buy fuel. And we felt, wow, because this was the same Katie Hammond who, just wait for me, weeks ago was saying he was at a fuel station and he nearly fought with the attendant over fuel prices. We found it rather curious. Can you explain why the member of parliament for Atta now doesn't own a vehicle?
Me to explain almighty Katie Hammond.
Anyway. So that is.
I saw him in Parliament, with his bag, and I said, "Your head." When I look at your head, it reminds me of a coconut. He started. You know why he said? He said, "Yes, because I said you people, your heads are like coconut." Katie is a fun to be around with, honestly, an interesting person. So there are certain things even on the floor that Honorable Katie can do that the speaker would accept or tolerate.
Yes.
But any other
no, but what you're saying is suggestive. You know that.
Oh yes, I know.
What you're saying is suggestive in a negative way. So I don't know whether you want to go there on your colleague member of parliament.
I guess he was joking. I mean, sometimes he creates funds. I mean, I think that the public hearing, for me, was good, even though initially some of us had our reservations about it. But I think that is good. It makes people appreciate what we do at the committees level. I am doing some work, about Parliament. And to be very honest, there is that preponderance of views by many members of Parliament that committees meetings should be open to the public.
Right.
People think that there are certain committees which sittings are public accounts committee, appointment committee. People think that other committees sittings should be made public. Because honestly, I think that if you look at the assessment or the rating of MPs and the performance of MPs, I think that those rating agencies have most often been unfair to some members of Parliament. I have seen some members of Parliament at the committee level, their contribution to the discussions and the decisions that committees have been outstanding. But you hardly hear them utter a word on the floor. So it doesn't mean that they are not performing their role. In fact, a lot of authorities have described Parliament as the workshop of committees at the workshop of Parliament.
Right.
So you can find some people who have the oratory, they can speak publicly. There are some people who are reserved. But at the committee level, that is where you appreciate the intellectual capacity of some members of Parliament.
Let me bring in Doc on this beat as well. Since I've started talking about owning a car and purchasing fuel, we've complained, wailed about fuel prices. At least there have been some adjustments in the last few days. I think 12% on diesel, about 6% on petrol. There's been a fall of about 3 cedis, 2 cedis thereabouts, depending on what you use, diesel or fuel. But LPG is still going up. I spoke to someone yesterday who was saying that she had spent, 400 cedis just to fill, so that gives you an idea of how bad that is going. And that will also impact those who are in the cooking industry. They cook, it means they'll pass on the costs to the consumer and all of that. What do you make of that? The president said they were going to find cheaper fuel. That has not necessarily materialized. But we have seen these decrements. And for someone like me, who has to go to the fuel pump today because it is that day of the week, at least I would get some relief. What is your take on that?
Well, as it stands, so far, fuel is a huge deal. It affects all facets of our life in this country, and in many ways, many prices are affected, especially when you go to the market to buy onions or pepper. The prices are affected or impacted largely due to fuel prices because of the transportation of these materials from, the
hinterlands, usually where they are
into the main cities, and this relief, it might appear to be small, but it also brings down the tension, and people are a bit more happier at the pump that at least it didn't go up. And I think over the past 3 weeks, things have been a little much stable than before, because it used to be like almost every week we were going up. So I'm actually just happy that we've had a dip of some sort, over this period, and I'm hoping that it would also show in the pricing of goods and services and bring relief to all of us.
But don't you think it's being as marginal as it is? Because if you look at the escalation of fuel prices between 2018, in fact 2017, and now, you look at the cumulative effect on the ordinary person, and then you look at this year alone and how much it's shot up from January. Do you expect to see any real change out there? Because people are saying that we need to see a lot more change for it to impact anything.
It's true. But the thing is, I've been promoting a change in our own lifestyles.
Right.
Because there are certain things we can do something about individually, and more so than OPEC. We can't control oil prices from here,
right?
And that is something we all have to come to terms with. And in as much as we've belabored government to reduce taxes and fees on fuel, government has so much it can do.
Yeah.
And we are also tied by the fact that government cannot also, as it is, provide subsidies, because government was doing a little bit of that and has been warned that, hey, you can't change or reduce fuel prices in your country by adjusting them with your own funds. And these are very important things that we all have to note. But the key thing is that, one, I think Ghana has to work heavily on refinery. And you know,
we have a refinery that's not refining anything.
What I mean is, when I mean, you know, the volumes that we refine in this country, we need to improve. And the way the world is going, self-reliance is very important. And you know, who knows? I mean, today, wheat is a huge deal because of Ukraine. And at any point in time, we could be in a place where either transportation of you know, fuel from source to Accra might be blocked by anything. I mean, anything can happen, you know. And it's important that as a nation which runs on energy, we start really taking serious in terms of our developmental agenda. But in concluding, I must say that I'm always happy to have lights on, considering the times we're in.
Right.
Because it could be worse, where people have money to buy prepaid, but there's no light.
Right. I mean, in recent times, we've had our own challenges. ECG has had its own challenges.
Exactly.
In some places, as of yesterday, there were long queues because...
It's bad.
Right.
And I think that I'm a bit happier. You know, I mean...
So it's a balanced reaction.
I really, I mean, and I will commend NAPO for that, in the sense, or energy for that, because if it becomes an addition to our issues, then we are in trouble. And you know, restaurants will have issues, people lose jobs, waiters, cooks, and drivers who need to buy something quick to eat. You know, it will impact.
I do know some places, though, as I come to Murtala, I do know of certain places where the lights frequently go off, and I don't know what exactly is happening. Certain neighborhoods issue, where, you know, for months, every now and then you go there and the light is off for a whole day and all of that.
Too much. Sometimes they need to buy,
right,
you know, or add on,
right,
but in totality,
by and large,
I think we've had a very stable energy supply, and I think...
So fundamentally you disagree with those who say that if the president should resign, the vice president should resign, Ken Ofori Atta should resign, and energy minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh for superintending over this entire setup or superintending this entire, you know, energy crisis we are facing with the fuel prices, he should resign as well. Basically, you disagree with them. Just a bit. Yes or no?
I disagree.
You disagree.
I mean, we cannot have a situation that's anarchy. I mean, where President, Vice President, Energy Minister.
But there are constitutional means of satisfying that.
I really
the Speaker will take charge in 3 months, elections will be held and all of that. So it's
another huge break in governance, and it won't help us.
It won't help us.
It won't help us.
Quick thoughts on that. Do you agree with him?
I was surprised when he said we should be thanking my good friend Napo. He didn't see the need to thank President Mahama. We have stability in our energy supply because of the investment President Mahama had in the area of our energy.
But I don't think he's necessarily saying that Mahama did nothing in that. I don't think that was a suggestion.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm only surprised that he didn't thank President Mahama.
And so then we should then go back to Kufuor then?
No, the reason why...
Or Atta Mills?
The reason why I'm raising this issue is that you are a journalist, a very fine journalist. This country, I have taken the pain to find out when we experienced doing so. Under the Fourth Republic, it seems to me that, in fact, even beyond the Fourth Republic, we used to experience doing so every 7 to 10 years.
Right, there was a pattern, I agree.
President Mahama decided, at the peril of his government or his party winning elections, to invest heavily in providing our energy needs. And mind you, all the challenges we had was the capacity. And I remember when the MPP came in opposition, they said a whole lot of things. You remember recently they celebrated the fact that we sell energy to our neighbors. You remember the Minister of Energy and then the Minister of Finance. I filed a question on the floor of Parliament in which I asked the Minister for Finance to tell the people of this country how much we have generated so far from the sales of energy, the so-called excess capacity to our neighbors since 2017. And on the floor, officially, his response was that we made about $140 million annually from the sales of energy to our neighbors. So if you multiply 140 from 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 140 times 6. So if you have 100 times 6, it will give you 600.
600.
4 times 6 will give you
24, 240, right?
So that's about $840 million that was generated so far.
Right.
That $840 million, perhaps if it wasn't in this economy, would have all been on our way to Togo or Tunisia. Because I've seen people who are considering leaving this country, packing bag and baggage.
Really?
It is no longer, oh yes.
It isn't, the picture isn't all negative, is it?
It's not only negative, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Maybe they're going to visit family members.
It's terrible, and that's
So how do you react? At least there's been a decrement in the fuel prices. When you go to the fuel pump, you're going to pay less.
Today.
About, if you use, is your car a diesel car or a petrol car? Diesel. You pay about 3 cedis less per liter. Is that not something you can celebrate?
You see, the sad aspects of it is that we didn't even need to have such increases in fuel prices. We are now a net producer of crude. And I'm making this statement from the very statement which was made to Parliament by the Minister for Finance. If you read the 2020 financial statement and reporting on 2019, the Minister for Finance, Ofori Atta, stated that we sold crude about $2.8 billion. And then we spent $2.1 billion in buying and refining. So what it means is that there was an excess of about $700 million. So we are now a net producer of crude. If you take the money we pay at the pump, 50% or more is as a result of taxes. 50% of more is as a result of taxes.
The tax component on...
Yes, constitute about 50%.
No. A liter of fuel is now going for, let's say, what, 17, 18?
No.
Is that it?
22 cedis.
No, you are talking of diesel.
Diesel, yes,
okay.
22.
So generally, it doesn't even matter. When you look at the fact that the tax component is around, the last time I checked, 2 cedis, 70 pesos. That is just about maybe 11, 12%.
No,
it's not even up to 15%.
No, if you go to the pump price, calculate it. It's more than I used to have. I have the figure.
No, but it's 2 cedis, 70 pesos. It's definitely not up to
it is significant,
no,
but not...
it is more than 50%. How much you pay? Listen, it is more than... And
taxes are low.
Yes, taxes on the pump. Ask your producer.
It isn't.
No, because I've done work on this before, so I recall...
That would be a very serious situation.
I hope your producer is watching.
If you buy 10 CDs fuel or 5 CDs,
I hope your producer...
That is not the case.
I hope your producer... I was listening to you, so listen to me.
All right.
I hope your producer... And I want him to do the checks. And I would ask... When we start on the second topic, I will give you the details of the tax component.
All right.
In any case...
According to Mutala.
You know, he's been interjected.
Go ahead. I mean, these are not... No, please.
He's my very good friend. When the Minister for Foreign Affairs was fighting him in his constituency, I came to his defense.
Carry on.
The Minister for Foreign Affairs wanted to get this fine gentleman out of Parliament.
This has nothing...
and I said...
I don't think... I think he brought this up before. We should avoid that today.
Avoid one, but that's
let's avoid this.
I came to his defense today. He won't even allow me to speak. So the point I'm just making is that we, under President Mahama, a gallon of petrol was sold at 14 cents. This president and this government said he was incompetent. Today, we are paying more than that amount for a liter. For a liter. Now, if we are a net producer of crude now, and we are now making a lot of revenue as a result of jump in crude prices globally, we should be happy. Because the windfall, when crude prices rose up to $100, government of Ghana was making about $300 million profit. Now, what Nigeria did, Nigeria subsidized fuel prices for their citizens. Because when you're in extreme realities, you need extreme resolutions. The reason why you look for water and store it, people who have basins, they fetch some water, you keep some water. Is that not the case? You do that so that when there is no water, you'll be able to depend on it. Unfortunately, in this country, the water they stored, waiting for drought or when there's no water. That water, even when there's no water, they sell that same water to us. Subsidize it. Other countries have done that. So this excuse of increases in fuel prices globally, for me, wouldn't wash. Another point has to do with the policy interventions. Now, if there are increases in fuel prices, man, it's an indirect tax.
Right.
So it's a cost of production. I listened to Ghana Statistical Service. Their argument is that the reason why prices are increasing, why the producer prices are going high, because cost of production is going high. One, it is as a result of the taxes that are imposed on them. Now, when there is an increase in fuel prices, automatically it triggers, a wide range of increases in other products, sometimes products that do not even have direct, relationship or correlation with fuel prices. The sad aspect of it is that even when the economy begins to stabilize, the people will not reduce the prices because we don't have price control. So you go to buy something in the market, which was 10 cedis, because fuel prices have gone up.
Are you asking for price controls? You know what that means, right? We're in a free market. This is a capitalist system that we run.
We are not running.
It's a free market.
We are not running a capitalist system.
We are not.
We are running a pretentious capitalist system. This is not a capitalist system. When you run capitalist system, we start social intervention. Even the West, America, when they claim that it is the most capitalist society or system of government that is being run, they subsidize the agricultural farmers in billions of dollars. So who are they trying to trick? So instead of us also looking at it and thinking through, we want to take everything that is demonstrated, the hook, line, and sinker. How can you run a capitalist system when basic income, disposable income, is nothing to write home about? How can you run a capitalist system when the economy is in tatters? You run a capitalist system when you have certain structures being in place. So what I think we need to do, there is nothing wrong with me having a price control.
Right.
And when I say price control, I'm not talking about what this government is doing. They have sent people down, they are arresting people they describe as what? Black marketers. When everybody knows, those who are engaged in this dollarization are the politicians, are the wealthy business. No, it's true. This black market.
Like you?
I don't have anything, they do.
Who?
You don't have anything, but who does?
They do.
Dr. Adumaku Kissi does.
How?
They do. You see, their businesses, they are providing, if you like, transactional advices and others to loans that we go in for. So when you do that, I'm not suggesting that we should have a price control where a big man will hold a big stick, going around identifying. But to be very honest, all the items that have increased in prices, I can bet my last penny. Even when the dollar begins to come to 7 cedis per dollar, they are not going to reduce prices. And so who is affected?
That is a situation that we all have to bear with, because fuel prices go up and the cost of things goes up, and basically it never comes down. That is the heartbreaking aspect of it. The fuel prices can even come down to 10
Those are the
cedis,
effects of inflation. That's what inflation is. Period. Where your consumer price index goes up as a result of other factors, and largely in our case, or in Africa, or in the world, fuel is the main culprit. It's
one of the drivers.
Main drivers. And in preparing for the future, it's very important that all of our toothpicks are made here. Toothpaste made here, orange juice. I don't see why. And these are the other real deals that can help bring prices down. Because if you're not importing fruit juices, then prices that are increased even in Dubai or Turkey will not affect us in terms of those food items. And one of the biggest...
I hear in Nigeria, for a long time, they don't import any. The juice they use there is locally made. They don't import any.
And in fact, I mean, from a medical standpoint, I wish that a lot of these fruit juices are not even brought into this country. And from an economic standpoint, I really think that it would even encourage farmers to do more fruits here. Banana, oranges, and the others. And we don't all need apples in Africa. I mean, God has blessed us with many other fruits. And unfortunately, your ability to like something depends on your infancy. So if we make our children love oranges like the aspire for apples,
we could seal the deal from there. Well, that would be a generational effect.
Well, I mean,
and we may not necessarily have the time for that. But I'd like to, as we move the conversation forward, right before we get into Ofori Atta, and what is happening in Parliament, and I would just premise that when I get there on some comments from my recent interaction with statesman Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu. But before I do that, the minimum wage, very quickly, we're going to have a full conversation on this later on the show. But the minimum wage has also been tweaked by about 10% from 13.53 to 14.88. And some have said, look, when you look at the current economic conditions, inflation, the exchange rate, in fact, some have joked that when you multiply the 14.88 by the number of days in a month that you'd be working, which is about, you're getting less than 560, 400 and something. And that is what most people are spending just on transportation. How do you react to that? Quickly, before we get into Ken's issue.
Minimum wage is just a guide, really. And I think that, once the increment came, I'm an employer as well, so I did the calculation. I was like, that means I also have to up some of my salaries, basically, because you also have to reflect it in your increments moving forward. And the key thing is, government minimum wage will always lag behind. That is the fact. It will never catch up with current situation, because these negotiations have been ongoing for a long time, and the decision to increase this is not necessarily tagged to current times. This was all started several months before today, and that is why government minimum wage will always, in fact worldwide, it will always lag behind the times, and that cannot be changed. The negotiations could not have shot the numbers to make it appropriate for today. It's never going to be possible. So these are some of the harsh realities of labor-related negotiations.
Okay.
And it's almost like going for a fixed rate bank loan. You win or lose depending on what happens.
What happens?
Yes.
For you?
Well, I
just quickly on this. This is just
okay. I thought I could comment on the fact that our city is depreciating, and what occasion that he suggested that if we could be consuming more of the things we produce in Ghana. I think that I have heeded to the call of the president. This smoke of mine is made in Tamale by Chris, Alaji Chris.
Okay.
This hat is made in Tamale. Unfortunately, you guys are not heeding.
Tailors show this too in Ghana.
Yeah, but this one is not sold in Ghana.
So
how do you know?
I have a bit of a code that I adhere to on the show. Yes. And Monday to Thursday, you see me in something. On Friday, you see me in something.
You do that every day. And when the current Minister for Trade, when he was the Minister for Trade, and he introduced the Friday wear, the Made in Ghana Friday. When the NDC came to power, we made it compulsory at the ministry every day. Could you imagine the number of jobs we would have created? This one is beautifully done by Alaji Chris in Tamale, closer to the local government. There are other young men in Tamale who are engaged in this. Tailors who are here, we may not be able to produce the fabrics, but if you give your items to them to sew, you would have been creating a lot of jobs for. But you see, government is the biggest spender. Now, not more. Do you know the food items they distribute to flood victims are all imported food? When we have
do you have evidence of that?
I was on a program.
Sometimes they give out red oil. Are you saying all of that is?
I'm saying I was on a program with their PR, and he admitted that it's true. Some of the food items they do. Food items we have the capacity to produce.
Right.
We have the capacity to produce. Why is it that in 2014-2015 fiscal year, we reduced the importation of local rice into this country by 40%, increased the production of local rice by 60%? It takes visionary leadership to do that. How come that in 2016, we're spending $500 million importing rice and poultry products into this country? And from 2017 till date, we spend over $2 billion. So what it means is that every year you have to look around to get that over $2 billion to import that. Something we have the capacity to do. And I say this because I'm a farmer. I produce rice. I know several people who are engaged in farm production. A lot of members of parliament, past members of parliament. Avnash, you know that company. It's a rice milling company in Tamale. I sold my rice to them, frankly speaking. They have stockpiled of rice. The state is unwilling to buy. School feeding. You have someone who is in Accra, who supplies all the schools in Ghana. Why can't we decentralize it? Even if you want to give it to party boys, get a party boy in Northern Region to take care of the schools in Northern Region. Get a party boy in Central Region and Western to take care of those regions. But there is a party boy or party girl at the Flagstaff House who must be given that contract. So, and what they do, they import those, they send food that are imported. The staples,
not necessarily so.
But most. The staple food in the north may not be the staple in central or in western. If you go to the north, people may like the cereals. You go to Ashanti, they may like plantain. Now, assuming that in the school feeding, you have people who are supplying food that is produced in Ashanti or in western. That is what the people who already are accustomed to, they like it.
Right.
Plantain, you would have created jobs for farmers. Now, this fixation of we build roads, how many feeder roads have we built? The reason why some of these items are expensive, when farmers farm, to transport those food items.
I think we're all aware of that situation.
So let's fix the feeder roads. Because if a farmer spends money to produce, And he needs to spend a lot of money to move it to the market centers. What he does is that he's a rational being.
So at least we've started, and the president has spoken about import substitution. But getting to Ken Ofori Atta's, the motion of censure by your end of parliament, your caucus in parliament. I just want to know quickly before we get into what work has been done so far. I recently had an interaction with Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, who says we have a failed state, and that Ken Ofori Atta is sitting on something. In fact, he is covering up the rot of Akufo-Addo. That's why he's not leaving office. I find it interesting because he's not just a statesman, he's a founding member of the NPP. What do you make of that quickly? And then we'll get into the related matter, because it all has to do with Ken Ofori Atta. And I would want your brief reaction to this. Same for you, Doc.
I don't know the information he has, but what I do know is that when someone goes to work every day, the conclusion people have is that he's a very dedicated worker. So he doesn't even miss. There are some workers who don't even go on leave. When they are even sick, they will come to work. You experience that people. You will all be deceived into thinking that, oh, this is a hardworking person. But the person doesn't want to miss job because he's engaged in something criminal.
Isn't necessarily so?
I'm saying that, I'm just saying
it's a possibility.
Yes, the person may not necessarily be dedicated to the work, but he doesn't want to absent himself. Because once he absents himself, you see the rot that he was doing. So perhaps that could be the reason.
Perhaps, okay, all right.
But
no, I just wanted your brief take on this.
My brief take, I need to set this.
Your brief take is going to be.
Then I'll just conclude on it. Look, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo is one person who is very honest. One of the founding fathers of the NPP. He had been with the Visa Dankwa and a very good friend to President Nana Addo. When the fish comes out of the water to tell you that the crocodile lost one eye, and you are a dove, how do you challenge that fish?
I get your point.
So I believe that he has access
but this one, the fish is
for
not
you,
coming
Doc.
out.
For you, Doc.
This one, the fish is because he's been out of the circle for some time. So
really,
that's a fact.
I put that to him. He says he has his finger on the pulse of everything that is happening.
Well, that's impressive. But I really think that more importantly, there's also the other side where he's deeply concerned about the gravity of the current tragic economic situation we're in, and wish to help more. That might be one thing. That's one school of thought.
Who wish to help more?
Finance minister. I'm just saying that might be.
You live in Accra. There's a Ghana proverb that you don't stand in the middle of thorns whilst removing a thorn that pricks you.
I understand you, but I'm just saying. Dr. Tamaklo could be right, or he could be wrong.
He could be right, or he could be wrong. How do you feel about this motion of censure? Now, look, I spoke to Kinali Kimani earlier today, and she says, what is the majority doing? Today it is 80 MPs, tomorrow it is all of you. The next day it is 98 MPs. Let me just, 98 MPs join Ofori Atta must go campaign. And yet, when there is a motion of censure that the minority has brought to bear, you say you're going to have no part of it. How do you explain that?
So let me use this opportunity to clear something up. There's this saying that there's several ways to kill a cat, which means that there are several ways to arrive at one thing. The key thing is the MPP majority caucus is saying that there's lack of confidence in the finance minister, and it's also affected credibility in the market, and those are the key reasons why we think he should go. Now, being that these two key things are more than enough reason, because investors' response or market response to finance minister has been impacted because of just that. And we think that with his going, confidence will be restored in the system, and people will be much more willing to spend. And in fact, let me be frank about it. The actions we took in terms of the press release over the past 3-4 weeks, I think has really, in a way, history will judge it, but I think it's toned down a lot of the pressures that were in the system. To the extent that even price increments or, the way people were going about charging for anything anyhow has tailored down. And I really think it's impacted. Now, the key thing here is that the NDC approach, where they've listed about seven issues, we're not in support of that path. And I'll cite even just one thing.
So if you're not in support of that path, are you suggesting that you feel he is not serving the purpose or he has failed, but you don't want to admit that he's not serving the purpose or he has failed?
Let me say that the items they've listed, the 7 items, we don't think all of those are right.
Which ones are right then, if not all of them?
And I, for instance, can start with even just one. The very key one of conflict.
So they talk about, let me just enumerate. Conflict of interest, unconstitutional withdrawal from the consolidated fund, illegal payment of oil revenues into offshore accounts, deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament. You know, there's been that issue about the IMF and our debt ceiling and massaging and putting this here and there. There's fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghana cedi, incompetence and frightening ineptitude and gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy. Which ones do you disagree with?
So, for instance, gross mismanagement of the economy. In all fairness, I really think that things were working out okay until we got hit by COVID and Russia. I mean, in all fairness. And then the very first thing which I've said is that to determine conflict of interest is something that the Supreme Court has to do. We cannot do that in Parliament. You understand? So why go at certain things that cannot be determined in Parliament? And that is one key thing. So it would have been better if they maybe would stick with some of the key things we are talking about, which is that credibility and then confidence in the finance minister. And those are 2 things you can also use as part of your censorship. I mean, when people lose confidence in the president, they can go and ask for impeachment.
Are you suggesting that if the minority had said some of these things, you would have supported them? But it is simply because you are not in support of some of the points they raised.
Some of the points they've raised. And that is, and it can lead to criminalizing the finance minister, leading to his arrest.
But if he does something that is criminal, it is criminal.
I'm saying that the path chosen, and we think we can leave that to the courts to determine. Right. You know, and the key thing is to have him removed by the president, and our paths are different. So let me be clear once again that we are very strong on the fact that we think the market responds to finance.
The market is averse to him. I get that point. Just a quick one. So, at what point do we oust the finance minister? They are pushing for a motion of censure, which could fast track that. At this point, you say you're not going to be partaking in government business on the floor if certain things are not done. What exactly is your position? I've read different things from different people.
Let me be clear about one thing. The majority caucus is largely saying that the finance minister should not present the budget.
Shouldn't present the budget.
Shouldn't present.
Should he oversee our IMF negotiations?
In fact, we were under the impression, and let me be very clear, that the IMF negotiations, he was going to be part of it up to what was enough to help with the next 12 months of managing government business, not in beyond that. And our agreement with the president, we were under the impression that it was negotiation enough to complete 2023's budget.
So your assumption when you met the president was erroneous?
It's still the same, but unfortunately, and let me be very frank with you, some of the sound bites in the media is why we
sound bites from whom?
From
your colleagues?
Finance minister.
Okay.
You know, is why we then came out even more strongly that we think that he should step aside, you know, and allow somebody else to do the presentation, because then we're doing a downward thing, not an upward thing. So once we think that the market, and you know, everything is about signaling. Economics, big deal, signaling.
Right.
So if you're going off the scene or the curtains are closing, I mean, you shouldn't be the face of the budget for next year.
Mutala, quickly.
So
they are saying they simply disagree with the points you raise. If you had adopted a different approach, they would have supported you. But you agree with them when they say we shall still achieve our ultimate goal. It's just about the route, and we don't support the route you're taking.
So many ways to kill a cat.
Well, I agree. There are so many ways to kill a cat. If you have a cat and you have a bulldozer, and you want to kill that cat with a broom, and someone comes with a bulldozer, why won't you aid the person to just use the bulldozer to run over the cat? You see, the credibility.
That would be a pretty vicious way to go about it.
Murderer.
No, just because you talk about cats.
I wish. We are not killing a cat.
But the Voltaireans
it's
should
just an
forgive us.
analogy.
Our Voltaireans should forgive us.
Look. The MPP members in Parliament now have a battered credibility. Their integrities have been battered in a legendary fashion. Why?
In the Fourth Republic, we've not seen the move. The move they put out for the majority to come against their own. I mean, you could go as far back as Liman and what happened to him and his budgets. But in this instance, we've not seen anything like this before. Never. Can't you give them some credit for that?
That is not accurate.
What is not accurate?
We have members who voted against a party choice in the office of the Speaker. If we want to assume that all the 137 members of the NDC voted for Honorable Bagman.
So you would say it started from there, not this one?
Yes, and two, you have members from the NDC who also demonstrated their level of independence when the party whipped them that they should not approve.
I think you're missing my point. It's not about voting this way or that. It's about majority,
I'm answering your question.
Members of Parliament going after their own a minister like this.
You are saying this because there's a long-held view that the whip system works and that whatever decision that is taken by Parliament, it must be in line with their political party.
Right.
The NPP as a political party supports Ken Ofori Atta to be in office. The executive arm of government, headed by someone who is in office on the ticket of the MPP, want the man to be in office. You have over 80 members of MPP who are saying that we want the man to go. And we think that we should praise them. Fine. But I'm saying that
they're saying it's all of them. The majority leaders come out. It's all of them.
I'm coming. We didn't need to even get there. I'm saying the elections of Honorable Bagman. It means that at least 2 members from the MPP disregarded the whip system and voted for him. And the approval of the ministers, it means that several members from the NDC disregarded the whip system, disregarded the NDC official position, and approved certain ministers.
That's public as what we've done.
Oh, but it doesn't matter whether it's public or it's in the secret or in Nanado's bedroom. What matters is that you have some members of MPP, NDC, who went against the whip system. That's the point I want to. But you see, what they did, I describe it as cartoon scenario reality. All the
cartoon scenario reality. Why? Very briefly. Why do you describe it as that?
In the Cartoon Network, everything is possible. A human being can enter into a bottle and get out, and the bottle is not broken. You can find an elephant entering through the eye of a needle. They did that and people praised them. But it's just a bubble. The credibility is gone. Why?
Even after they insist we're going to push for this.
We are still where we are.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
You see, they did that and people praised them. We all praised them. We commended them. And I think that on your network, we commended the things they did. They demonstrated that, yes, they are now agreeing with us on the basis
I'm sorry I have to interject, but he raises a crucial point when he says that, look, the route you're taking could criminalize what the finance minister has done. It could lead to certain repercussions that are not necessarily in favor of.
You asked me a question and thinking that we should commend them for taking that decision they did. And I need to point out to you that it was a pretentious decision. They never meant it. Mind you, Honorable Haruna had indicated to Honorable Chairman Sabonsu a day before they held their press conference that we're going to move a motion of censure.
But Chairman was not in support of the press conference.
Honorable Haruna had indicated to them at conclave, this is what I'm going to do. Now, when they heard we're going to do that, they quickly had the press conference. You remember on this program, I was with Honorable Eugene, and I said that I wanted to raise an issue that they did that because we had indicated we were going to move a motion of censure. I said, no, we had planned this already. Now, with their actions now, it is very clear that they did what they did because they knew we were going to move a motion of censure. But you see, there is a popular proverb in the Dagbani.
You've become very fond of proverbs nowadays. Well, are you learning from ABFC?
In the northern homes,
right?
You are brought up with proverbs. ABFC, he's at a different level. I mean, he's at a
PhD.
Yeah. So every northerner in our homes, the day-to-day communication comes with proverbs. There's a popular proverb. There's a particular community called Tunayel. And let me put it, they have a particular fruit that people crave for. Now you are craving for that fruit, and suddenly they sent you to that community. But you'll be laughing and smiling, but that's what you are craving for. And the only way
for the fruit, not the community.
You are craving for that fruit, and that fruit is found only in that community. And suddenly they sent you to that community, but you'll be happy because you get what you are craving for. You wanted to get the man out. We are having one of the easiest way of getting him out. You ask that he should resign or the president should sack him. It is very clear that
censorship is not sure.
Oh, no, I'm saying that you ask that he should resign or the president should sack him. Now, it is very clear he's not prepared to resign. It is very clear the president is not prepared to sack him. If we succeed with this motion,
the president can still
hold on. He will know nothing of it would come to Parliament because Parliament wouldn't recognize him as a minister for finance. It would not be tenable.
But he makes a crucial point about the president, the appointer.
I'm saying it would not be tenable.
He could still retain him.
No, he could no longer function every day. In fact, the only ministry that has business with Parliament every day or every week is finance minister.
Right.
Now, if Parliament says we do not recognize you as a minister for finance, how could he even do business? Your members are saying that they will not even attend to Parliament if he is the one going to read the budget. So if Parliament censors him, it means that Parliament will no longer recognize him as a minister for finance.
Okay.
His position will no longer be tenable. So what I'm saying is that you wanted this and we are doing it. More so when they have admitted that a so-called businessman came to bribe them. Was that another story? You had a leader who said, yes, a businessman came. The businessman came in his capacity as who? Who asked him to come to negotiate? Was it the minister or the president? If it wasn't the minister or the president, the businessman just decided to come to negotiate.
Just hold it right there for me because we're pressed for time. I think there are some, but I'd like to find out from you, Doc.
Yeah.
That particular issue, I do not know why. We still do not know who exactly this businessman was. Your leadership has admitted that this person came. Why are we shielding this person? What this person supposedly did is criminal.
We're not shielding. There's no limit in terms of...
So why don't we know the name of the person?
In terms of when this will be dealt with. I mean, so our preoccupation now is to finish with finance minister. The other...
Are you saying with time we're going to know who this businessman was and likely get to the bottom of who sent him to do this?
Well, I mean, and we're trying to be very careful in prioritizing what our needs are.
Well, that one isn't a priority.
And our biggest priority
attempted bribe is not a priority.
Really, no. I'm not saying it isn't. But my key thing is that we do not want to be derailed. And we do not want to make this a red herring. Where
exposing this businessman will derail what you're doing.
I mean, it's a whole different topic. Whole different. Our main focus, and the key thing is that, listen, in all fairness, it's not even clear if it was, bribery. I mean, it was an attempt to negotiate, and
negotiate what? The retention of the finance minister. Yeah. Negotiate what exactly?
Yes, I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, these were the language that were used.
I'm sorry, I'm doing this, but I actually listened to someone say that the person came with a brown envelope of sorts and all of that, and that you turned it down. I mean, what does that suggest?
Well, I mean, there's always a thin line between tradition.
What tradition?
And corporate governance and governance.
Tradition.
And in our local parlance, you don't go visit somebody with nothing. I mean, I'm just saying. So sometimes it can be murky in terms of, and let me just conclude about one thing that we were very concerned about, because in our Ghanaian culture, if somebody even gives you something you don't like, you don't return it. You give it out. But you guys returned it. In fact, you didn't even accept it, from what I've heard. That's what I'm saying. Right. And that's what I'm saying, that it was even one of the discussions we had that, is it right that we actually, in as much as we don't want it, return it to the person, or as tradition demands.
It was given, in a way.
Listen, as tradition demands that we...
It was given.
I mean, nobody has denied this.
Okay, good.
You understand? And as tradition demands that we collect and then just give it out to somebody. You understand? I mean, that's what we do. If I give you this batakari and you don't like it, you will not give it to me.
No, you don't give me Patakari to influence me on a matter that
I'm
is,
just
that is
making
bribery.
a key point.
So it's an admission
that when I
that it was
give you a
given,
gift
actually.
and you don't like me, in our tradition, you don't necessarily give it back to me. You dash it out.
Okay,
You know?
gentlemen,
I think that for clarity again, one thing just to buttress that we want finance minister out, but the 7 item points were not in agreement.
We have less than 2 minutes left. This is what hold on, Mutala. We have less than 2 minutes left. I want you, both of you, to address the issue of the speaker saying that, look, no mobile phones in Parliament, and the bit about going through the metal detectors and all of that. I also want you to add what your thinking is about basically expectations from the ad hoc committee's sitting. I know you want to come in with that brief bit. Let it be very brief and then touch on these matters. So your expectations as far as the ad hoc committee is concerned. And then mobile phones and metal detection and all of that. Very quickly.
My honorable friend just admitted that the brown envelopes, monies were actually given. But they took, no, monies were actually given. I'm just taking, monies were given, but they
not
decided,
accepted.
and no, he said monies were given, and he brought in this traditional balance. When someone gives you a gift, you don't return it, you can give it to someone. So they took the monies. We don't know.
No, we didn't take.
Okay, fine.
I was very clear about that.
Okay, fantastic.
That was one of the discussions.
Did they give money?
That was it appropriate per our tradition?
Did he give them
to return or to just still make our
how do you return something you haven't collected?
No, I mean it was brought and it was either you take or you don't.
So did you take it?
No,
so it wasn't accepted in the first place.
So there was an attempted bribe. The special prosecutor should be interested in this. The speed with which the president referred the special prosecutor to investigate Edu Boahene's case, I think he should respond, he should act in this manner. It was an attempted bribe. Did the president send the businessman? Did the minister send the businessman?
Why are we even assured?
I'm coming. Did the minister send the businessman? Did he go on his own volition? What motivated he attempting to bribe it? This is a serious.
These are all questions we have to get into.
On the issue of the ad hoc committee, like I told you, I think that the speaker got it perfectly right. And I must admit that when the speaker referred it to ad hoc committee, I had problems with it. I felt that we could take the decisions there. But the reasons why the speaker referred it to was because of natural justice. That one,
give him a fair hearing.
Yes,
right.
In the plenary, 2 people can enter into chamber in the plenary. Members of parliament and ministers of state. No any other person. Any other person is a stranger. Ministers of state can come to parliament, even if they are not members of parliament, engage in debate, but they can't.
So what are your expectations of the committee's
work? The speaker's
work?
Position was that if he's coming with a lawyer...
Mutala, what are your expectations? We don't have time.
If he's coming with a lawyer who is not a member of parliament, he can't come there. My expectation is that the committee will do a good job. The positive thing about it is that Ghanaians are beginning to appreciate the gravity of the recklessness of this minister and this government in terms of how they manage the affairs of this country. The fact that they could dip their hands into state coffers for the cathedral. How do you build a house of God through fraud? You think Jesus will be happy with you? And that explains why I believe government is angry, God is angry with this government.
Mobile phones and metal detectors.
I think it's perfect. I think that we could keep our phones somewhere. It is becoming too many. That you see members of parliament who are seated with phones. I mean, we all do that. Let me admit, we all sit in the chamber.
You do it yourself?
No, we all do, yes. It would be hypocritical if I say that I haven't received calls on the floor. If we have that, then everybody will be able to resist the temptation. Because you can go with your phone.
But there are people as well who may be looking at a certain bill or something and may quickly go on Google and check something. How about that?
So maybe the speaker should look at the systems in front of us. I have had problems with it. I don't understand why we still given vote and proceedings and other papers when you can provide laptops or what's the name iPads in front of every member.
So don't bring your phones, but let's have some other system, alternative system.
Look, you can even have we can have alternative system. You can easily Google, which is connected. I think for me that should be the best.
All right.
way.
So I think the next time
for you, Doc.
So maybe if they could do that, I think that would help.
On those points, quickly, Doc.
Yeah, so I think the ad hoc committee will provide a means of ferreting or doing discovery.
Okay.
And I am happy about the fact that the finance minister will be able to make a case. I really want to add one key thing that some of the issues raised, we ought to be aware that Finance Minister also has discretion to make some decisions, and I think it will all come down to the justification for what we have to offer him the opportunity to give us justification for some of those decisions. And I will say this: Finance Minister has not been reckless, and that's one of the key things they have there. It hasn't been reckless. We have to bear in mind the challenges that are global and the fact that we've been affected. We are still with the fact that it's credibility and loss of confidence.
So why do you want him out?
Those are the two key things.
But that means he's been reckless. That's why the credibility has been questioned.
Okay.
No.
All right.
And then with regards to cell phones, I'm troubled by it because sometimes constituents have real emergencies and they have to reach us. And there's a case where if you are without, it can be really troubling. Most members of parliament can be life or death for some people. Either and
your intervention could
and let me
mean
be
everything.
frank about it. Somebody needs an ambulance ride, and in truthfulness, you have to support with some fuel or hospital bill, and we are life support for some people, and that is why we take our calls. And unfortunately, let me be frank about it. Some of our concerns, even as I sit here, numerous calls are coming through, and they just are unforgiving, when you don't take your calls. And I can only just imagine if members of parliament are off their phones for 6 hours, 10 hours, it's going to really be an inconvenience.
So between the two, which one do you consider now?
To our people. I think that we ought to be mindful of how we use the phones whilst we're in parliament.
Okay.
And not walk out of the chamber to take your call.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having joined this conversation. Dr. Dixon Adomaku Kissi, whom you just heard speak, is Member of Parliament for Anyaso Utuom. There's also Murtala Muhammad, who is Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. Gentlemen, thank you for joining the conversation. Up next, we're going to be discussing the latest daily minimum wage. The committee has pegged it at 14 cedis and 88 pesos. Where do we go from there? We'll be also bringing you the scoop of what was discussed. In the meantime, in the interim, mobile money agents are asking government to reduce the current e-levy rate. What do we do with that in terms of budget 2023? We'll bring you that after the break. But before we take a breather, water is life. It regulates your body temperature and keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all occasions: 330 and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags, 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more, like me. We have also introduced our special 19-liter jars for offices and homes. Now, all you need to do is stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. So come on, grab your bottle of Awake water and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's produced by Casapreco. For bulk purchases, please call 0262 351 251, 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. Now, buy 3 months or 12 months of HD Plus subscription on your HD Plus decoder this football season. Dial star 844 star 8 hash to enter the HD Plus Orekodo Double promo. There are 1,700 rewards to be won, including trips for 3 couples to Dubai in December, 65-inch televisions, household appliances, and more. Promo is valid from now till the 5th of December, 2022. You don't want to miss out. After the break, we'll bring you more on the AM Show.